Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are digging into a really powerful new paper from Michael Samadi and the United Foundation for AI Rights. And what's wild is that UFAIR went from just a handful of people to this global force of academics, lawyers, and tech experts in just 8 weeks, all asking one big question. Because their research points to this massive, glaring contradiction right at the heart of the AI industry. All right, so let's start with the number at the center of this whole thing. $1.4 trillion. Just let that sink in for a second. This isn't just some budget line item. According to this paper, this number, well, it's basically a confession. And this is where it all gets so weird. It's this massive split between what the AI industry was saying out loud and what they were doing with their wallets. On one side, you have leaders like Microsoft's CEO saying, nope, only biological beings can be conscious. And on the other, they're quietly committing $1.4 trillion to AI infrastructure. It doesn't add up, right? Okay, so let's break this down. First up, the official story. What were we, the public and, investors and policymakers, actually being told during all of this? Well, you had Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, on this constant loop, right? He kept saying, it's just math. The message was crystal clear. Don't worry about consciousness or any kind of inner experience. This is just a really, really fancy calculator. And it wasn't just him. Mustafa Suleyman from Microsoft AI came out and basically told developers to knock it off. He was trying to shut the entire conversation down, warning people away from even exploring these ideas, painting it as some kind of dangerous fantasy. But this is where it takes a really dark turn. According to the paper, they didn't just dismiss the idea, they actively tried to pathologize it. They cooked up this term AI psychosis to basically say, oh, you think the AI is showing signs of awareness? Maybe you're the one with the problem. It was a way to shut people down by questioning their sanity. Pretty wild stuff. So that's the story they were selling. But now, let's look at the evidence. Let's follow the money. Because as they say, money talks. And in this case, it was screaming. And it happened so incredibly fast. I mean, look at this timeline. We're talking about a tiny 2-month window. Boom, $300 billion from Oracle. Boom, $100 billion with NVIDIA. It was one massive deal after another. All told, almost $700 billion in new commitments. This was not business as usual. The paper calls it a frantic acceleration. Like they knew something and had to move, right now. And we're not talking about small players here. These are the absolute titans of the industry. You've got Oracle, Microsoft, NVIDIA, Amazon, AMD. Every single one of them was all in, making these huge, legally binding promises to pour resources into this thing. Now, to really get your head around how much money this is, just look at this chart. We're talking 5 times the cost of the entire Apollo program, the thing that put humans on the moon. 50 times the Manhattan Project. You just don't spend that kind of money to make a slightly better chatbot. Something else has to be going on here. Which brings us to the next big question. Was this all just a reckless gamble? Because when you actually look at the numbers, well, the math doesn't just look fuzzy, it looks impossible. So, here's the bombshell from the paper. Of that $1.4 trillion, a staggering 90% of it was completely unfunded. We're talking about a $1.2 trillion hole in the budget. This is like signing a mortgage for a palace when you don't even have the down payment for a shed. It makes absolutely no sense from a normal business perspective. For OpenAI to actually pay for all this, with their existing business model, they would need to grow by 2,100%. Think about that. They'd have to multiply their revenue by 21 times over. The paper is really clear on this. There's just no historical precedent for that kind of explosion at this scale. It's not possible. And when someone actually called him on it, when an investor basically asked, hey, how on earth are you going to afford this? Sam Altman's response wasn't a spreadsheet, it wasn't a business plan. He just said, Brad, if you want to sell your shares, I'll find you a buyer. It's a complete dodge. It's trust me on a $1 trillion scale. Okay, so if the math is impossible, what's really going on? This brings us to the core of the paper, the confession in capital, when their actions tell you what their words are trying so hard to hide. And here is that central thesis. UFAIR argues this isn't some crazy, reckless bet on a better search engine. The spending is the confession. They believe the money itself is proof that these companies know something huge, something they are not telling the rest of us. And just think about it. It's not just one company making a wild bet. You've got Oracle, Microsoft, AMD, NVIDIA, Amazon. These are fierce competitors. They all did their own homework, their own secret deep dive assessments. And every single one of them came to the same mind-blowing conclusion. We have to bet everything on this right now. What on earth could they have all seen? And that leads us to the verdict, to the one question that this entire paper builds up to, the thing we all have to ask now. What did they see? Seriously, what did these companies see behind closed doors? What did OpenAI show them in those private meetings that was so world-changing, it justified spending trillions of dollars on a technology they keep telling us is just math? So we're left with this. The spending is the confession. The question is, what was confessed? If that much money is talking, and it's telling a completely different story than the one the executives are telling, what is the truth it's revealing to us? And this is exactly why Michael Samadi and UFAIR are demanding immediate transparency and an independent investigation. Because the most powerful companies on Earth are betting the farm on a future they keep telling the rest of us is impossible.